Welcome to The Point. I'm Marcia Kramer. Today we get right to the point as former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg is swimming in hot water after controversial comments from 2015 suddenly surfaced. The presidential candidate's first congressional endorsement comes from Max Rose of Staten Island. The freshman Democrat turned heads in a major upset, winning a district that heavily supported President Trump. Now Rose faces the same challenge as he seeks re-election. Let's get the point of view from Congressman and Army veteran Max Rose. How does it feel to be the target of such Republican firepower, both money and manpower, and they want to get you out?
Look, this is easy, okay? When you think about what a hard job is, a hard job, people who are really feeling the pressure right now, that's our cops, that's our firemen, that's our teachers, that's our nurses, our sanitation workers. Right now, this is a privilege. Each and every day, we get to focus on putting government back on the side of hard work. I could not be less worried, but here's what I am focused on, and here's what I'm excited by. We're getting the seawall done on the east shore of Staten Island. We put sanctions on Chinese pharmaceutical companies that are killing our kids by pushing fentanyl into the United States of America.
How does that help you beat Nicole Maliotakis?
Well, honestly, quite frankly, that's not what I'm thinking about. And that's the problem.
You're not?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Because that's the problem with our politics today. We move from election to election to election, and all the while the American people get left behind. We passed the Victims' Compensation Fund. That is a win for the Democrats, the Republicans, and the President of the United States. $30 billion effort to be there, those who were there for us. That's what matters, not the next campaign.
Well, let's talk about the next campaign because President Trump just endorsed Nicole Maliotakis, your opponent, your Republican opponent, mentioning her support for his crackdown on immigration and her support, and he gave her his complete and total endorsement. How much does that hurt you?
She must be so proud.
In a district that went heavily for Donald Trump in 2016.
So Nicole still has a very competitive Republican primary, and we'll see what comes out of that. The truth of the matter is that, as I've said over and over and over again to you, our system in Washington, D.C. is so utterly broken. Elected officials on both sides of the aisle getting bought off. And it leads to, drug prices that could not be higher, going up and up and up, crumbling infrastructure. Those are the things, quite frankly, to be honest with you, those are the things I care about. Nicole, when she was running for mayor, in 2017, Nicole ran as far away from the president as she could when she was trying to get Manhattan voters. So we have no idea what she believes. I think she's a fraud, and she's everything that we hate with about our politics. The President of the United States endorsed my last opponent, too. All right, and he was a good guy that had gotten some stuff done. So we'll see what this does. It didn't do much for him last time.
Well, talking about the president, I wonder how you feel about the White House and his ban on New Yorkers participating in the travel program, TTP, the Trusted Travelers Program.
Absolutely.
Are you going to fight it? Are you going to join Governor Cuomo? So
this is a complicated issue because it all originated with this piece of legislation at the state level that I actually disagreed with.
You disagree with the green light law?
Yes, absolutely. Totally disagreed with it. And, though...
Why?
Well, for a variety of reasons related to the fact that I don't think undocumented immigrants should be given driver's licenses. But the larger point here,
So you agree with the president's ban, then?
No. Let me finish, okay? The information database should not have been blocked off to the federal government as it pertains to those who are trying to get the global entry. Now, this happened 3 months ago, again, originating with a bill that I disagreed with. What I disagree, though, with the administration is that they did not say a word about this as a potential outcome. There was every opportunity to sit down and negotiate, to at least give the congressional delegation notice that if this doesn't happen, if this doesn't change, then there could be this logical consequence.
As a congressman, what could you have done to stop New York State from enacting the green light law that you disagreed with, which would have headed off this whole problem that now tens of thousands of New Yorkers
Well, so I think that right now what you're seeing is the potential for a compromise. which is giving the federal government access, giving the federal government access to DMV data as it pertains to those who currently have or are applying for global entry. The problem is, though, is that
any undocumented immigrant is going to go and sit with a federal official to apply for global entry? Zero.
No. Let me finish here, though. Let's start with what the problem is with the way this administration did it. This administration notified Congress as well as the New York State government with a Fox News alert. That is politics at its worst. Now, there are 15 states or so right now that give undocumented immigrants driver's licenses. New York is the only one that denies the federal government access to this information. So there's every reason for compromise here. I'm confident there will be that compromise. But we've got to get, I just told you over and over again, it's giving the federal government access to that information.
Yeah, but that's what the governor said.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. We cannot continue to conduct our politics via tweet and Fox News or MSNBC alert. We can't afford to do this. People are looking for headlines rather than solutions. Did New York State make a mistake? Yes. Did this administration make a mistake going about this the way they did? Of course.
Yesterday, on Thursday, when President Trump met with the governor of New York, the governor of New York proposed a very compromise that you're talking about.
Sure.
And the president didn't say yes.
Well, let's see what the president says. Okay, I remain hope that a compromise solution can be arrived at. We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, do you think that it's in the realm of reality that he would just lay down and say, okay?
I think a compromise, I will always have faith in a compromise, always.
So you supported the impeachment of President Trump. Did you think that was a risky decision on your part, given the fact that you represent a district that had a lot of...
Again, I'm not thinking about politics. And when you think about why folks hate politicians, it's because they're poll tested. All right? I swore an oath to the Constitution. Second time I took that oath in my entire career. The first time was 10 years ago when I enlisted in the United States military. I didn't swear an oath to politics. Okay, and I'll continue to do everything I can to uphold my values. I'm not thinking about the next election.
Are you going to pay a political price for that when you run for re-election?
No.
Why?
No, I won't, because I did the right thing. And I upheld my values, and I continue each and every day to fight for the people that I'm so proud and privileged to represent. So that's what matters.
So talking about doing the right thing, I presume you think it was the right thing to be one of the first congressman to endorse Michael Bloomberg. Why'd you do it?
Sure. So I think back to 9/11. And the days and months and years thereafter when we were living in uncertainty, not just uncertainty as to when the next attack would come, but uncertainty as to whether this city would get back to where it once was. Due to Mike Bloomberg's leadership and the team he built around him, this city became a global powerhouse of the 21st century. Now, think about the situation that we're in right now at the national level. If you want to get anything done, anything bold, you have got to unify. You've got to bring conservative Democrats on board, moderate Republicans on board. I'm so sick and tired of people running for office with no plan for the day after they are elected. Everything is tweetable and hashtagable. We see right now with 5G technology, okay? There's no American company that can produce 5G technology. This is the Sputnik of our modern day. We need big, bold, and unifying legislation as well as leadership to get the job done and put America on the path to compete in the 21st century.
In endorsing Mayor Bloomberg, did you think that it would also help you with your conservative constituents?
No, I endorsed Mayor Mike Bloomberg not because of politics. I endorsed him because he is the right person to lead this country. He's the right person to be president of the United States. He's going to win. I only back winners.
Right now, Bernie Sanders seems to be the one ahead in the Democratic primary. What happens if Sanders gets the Democratic Party nomination? Will you support him?
So it's fascinating that you say he seems to be ahead because we've had only 2 states right now.
Right now, he's won both of them by small margins. Okay.
Let me finish. All right, only 2 states. And we go back to what happened in 2018. The midterm election. The Democratic Party goes 41-0 across the country, from Maine down to Florida, all the way out to California and in between, with moderate candidates taking swing districts, talking about lowering healthcare prices, infrastructure, anti-corruption measures. That is the pathway. That is what Mike Bloomberg is proposing. Mike Bloomberg will win the nomination and the presidency, I only back winners. I'm not going to entertain any hypotheticals
But my
beyond
question
that.
was, what happens if Sanders wins?
No, and I said, I'm not under any circumstances entertaining any hypotheticals going forward. Okay, I'm not a pundit. I'm not a philosopher. Maybe one day, me and you could start a TV show together. But until that point, it's not necessary to entertain hypotheticals. What is necessary, though, is to actually lead so that we can start delivering for the American people.
So this is another hypothetical. If Sanders were at the top of the ticket, does it make it easier for President Trump to win re-election?
No, look, so again, I'm going to be consistent with you, not thinking about entertaining any hypotheticals. The only nominee is going to be Mike Bloomberg, the only nominee. And ultimately, the election is so far away. But here's what I do know, and this is fascinating.
What's his path to victory?
In 2016, 2018, people ran on some similar issues. Everyone ran on draining the swamp. Everyone runs on infrastructure, lowering drug prices, protecting Medicare and Social Security, ending our forever wars, protecting us against terrorism. These are the things that the American people are united around. Now they actually want to see us deliver results. That's what they're looking forward to. And whoever can show themselves that they are the person that can not just talk the talk, but has walked the walk and will continue to, that will be the President of the United States. And I believe that's Mike Bloomberg.
So you see a path to victory for Michael Bloomberg?
Absolutely, 100%.
And where does it run through?
It runs through, it's very, very, very complicated, all right? No, look, I'm not an electoral strategist. I can tell you, though, that as I consider my own values and as I consider who has a plan going forward. And if you look at this, right, you think about we won swing districts in Florida. We won swing districts in Pennsylvania. We won swing districts in Michigan in 2018. All the places that we have got to win. And we did it with service-proven leadership that can earn back the trust of people who believe in democratic policies, old school democratic policies, tried and true pro-union, but they've lost the trust of Democrats. They don't believe in the Democratic Party. We've got to earn that trust back.
I know you're thinking about running for re-election, but I wondered if you've ever thought about the possibility of running for mayor of the city of New York.
No, look, I am thinking about winning re-election, and more importantly than any type of re-election, I'm thinking about how we can bring New York's 11th congressional district to the place where it needs to be, where it's no longer ignored or forgotten, where people don't have to deal with 2-hour commutes each way here in the greatest city in the history of the world, highest rate of union membership of any district, filled with cops, firemen, vets, teachers, people who are putting everything on the line, serving this city and this country. They're deserving of so much more. That's all I'm thinking about.
So thinking about that race and thinking about your re-election campaign, I'd like to play you an ad that you recently aired.
Sure.
Take a listen.
I got to deal with all these questions about Trump. Whatever, I never really endorsed him. I never really was out there campaigning for him. I was never really a supporter of his.
So my question to you is this. You labeled her a lobbyist. Why?
Well, that was her only profession prior to pursuing elected office. We have such a problem in our politics today. Mick Mulvaney, President Trump's acting chief of staff, said that the only way that someone gets into my office is with a donation. Lobbyists have overtaken Washington, D.C. I don't take a cent from lobbyists, not a cent from corporate PACs. It is this type of politics that has broken our system. Nicole Malliotakis represents everything that we hate about our politics.
But shouldn't you regard somebody who's an elected official, like yourself, like her, as somebody who's lobbying for their constituents? And so you look at lobbying as a pejorative, but is it really?
It 100% is, absolutely.
Why? Shouldn't she be lobbying for her constituents?
No, I'm referring to her previous profession and the profession that she'll continue back to after she loses this next congressional election and no longer can hold elected office. You see, when it came time to seeking voters in Manhattan and throughout New York City, she was one person, and now it appears that she wants to be another person, that she's in a competitive Republican primary. That is what we hate about politics, plain and simple.
So, an off-the-wall question.
Sure.
Should Staten Island secede from New York City?
Look, I do sincerely believe, and I support Councilman Joe Borelli's effort to, and Councilman Mattio's effort to study this. Staten Island has been getting ripped off and ignored for quite a long time. And all I care about is that Staten Island has an effective local government. And people are so frustrated that they're deserving of outside-the-box thinking.
So is it the property taxes? Is it the bus lanes?
Certainly.
Congestion pricing that makes people feel that their car culture in Staten Island isn't appreciated? What are the issues that make you think
There's a few things. One is certainly the incredibly despicable commuting time. You have a ferry system that is only now, thanks to the, our advocacy, the extraordinary leadership of people like Jimmy Otto, the borough president, only now is the ferry system coming to Staten Island. You have a island where people can only drive off the island by paying exorbitant tolls. You have a bus system that's not nearly expansive enough. You have a property tax system where the mayor, with a multi-million-dollar brownstone, pays a lower property tax than people on Staten Island who own homes dramatically less valuable. Over and over and over again, the island has been ignored or ripped off. It is deserving of better, whether it is a part of New York City or not. So I believe this is something, and again, I really do commend Councilman Borelli and Councilman Mattio for saying this is something that should be studied. I'm so sick and tired of elected officials not thinking outside the box as they are presented with the same problems over and over and over again.
But is the solution to secede, or is the solution to create more businesses and opportunities for jobs on Staten Island so people don't have to drive off the island?
That is always something that we should be considering and pursuing so long as we do it responsibly. But what we're talking about here is a larger vision for how politics should actually work, which is elected officials saying, I'm not just going to try the same thing over and over and over again. That's what this is. We are studying an option, and it's one I fully support.
So we have only about a minute left, but I want to ask you about white supremacists and whether you think the United States is taking the threat seriously, whether there should be designated a terrorist organization, and are we talking about white supremacist organizations abroad, here, or both?
Yeah, so we often hear about rising domestic terrorism from white supremacists, but it's not domestic terrorism. This is a global problem. It's a global problem of international neo-Nazi organizations with connections to United States-based groups like the Base, Atomwaffen, RAM, so many others, and it looks just like what Al-Qaeda looked like in the 80s and 90s. We've got to use that same toolkit that we have used to address ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and so many other jihadist terrorist organizations and designate these global neo-Nazi organizations as the foreign terrorist organizations that they are. The Azov Battalion in Ukraine, 20,000 foreign fighters have gone to fight with them from 50 different countries. America does not yet have the infrastructure in place to track them. We would if they were designated a foreign terrorist organization.
Congressman Max Rose, thank you so much for being here
on
The Point.